Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to the EPD Awareness and Capacity Building Workshop organized by the Emirates Green Building Council and powered by the Green AI in collaboration with EPD International and EPD MENA. My name is Lana Abu Qalbain, and I'm from the technical team of the Emirates Green Building Council. I'm delighted to have all of you here with us to explore how EPDs, or environmental product declarations, can support the sustainability in our built environment. So without taking a lot of the time, we will invite Abdul Latif Al-Bitawi, the CEO of Emirates Green Building Council, to deliver the opening remarks. And we encourage you all to leave your questions in the Q&A box, marking who you'll be directing the questions to, and we'll definitely try to answer as many as we can towards the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Lana. Welcome everyone to this webinar. It's a pleasure to be with you all. To begin with, I would like to thank Green AI for sponsoring this webinar and helping making it live now. I would also like to thank the speakers and the panelists that will present to us and share with us their expertise and insights about this important topic. I don't want to take your time speaking about EPDs or the importance or what they are. I will leave this to our esteemed speakers and panelists. And I would like really to use the time and get you engaged from the first minute. We have a very small and short survey that I would like to share with you and ask everyone really to answer it. And then we know we'll take it from there. So Lana, if you share the the survey or the poll, please. You have 5 questions, not very long questions, easy ones, I would assume. I kindly ask you to answer the 5 questions. When you finish answering the 5 questions, you press submit or whatever, and then we will see the results on the screen, and I'll take it from there then. So I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes to go through the questions and answer them.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Rima. So for those who may have joined just now, we are sharing a poll online. Kindly request everyone to answer the 5 questions. So the last question is really more of arranging what you think is on top of priority. We have 87 attendees, but only 35 answered the poll. We'll give it another minute. So now we are at about 50% of the attendees answered the poll. So the number of responses is increasing, but also the number of attendees is increasing. So we are still at the same percentage, about 50%.
Snap.
Okay. Thank you for those who shared their answers, and those who may have not yet. Again, you can continue, but I'll start sharing, just reflecting quickly on the findings. So for the first question, which is about your current level of EPD involvement, 50% of the answers saying that I'm aware of EPDs but haven't used them. And then 26% they have developed or used EPDs, which is quite nice, interesting. The second question was about the biggest barrier. 39% said lack of technical knowledge, and the second 25% said it's high cost of or resources requirements. We will hear now from our esteemed speakers and maybe panelists more about each one of these from their practical experience. Do you believe EPDs will become mandatory? 60% said yes, and that's very positive, in the next 2 to 3 years, and 33% said maybe. So we have like 93% believe that yes, this may happen in the 2 to 3 years. Very nice. The fourth question is, which stakeholders should be driving EPDs adoption in the region? And 56% said it's the regulators or the government. And then the other answers kind of came close. You have 10% developers, 12% consultants, 12% manufacturers, and 7% certification bodies. And the last one was, what interaction would most help accelerate awareness and adoption of EPDs in your market? So on top came the stronger regulatory or client demand, and second, followed by more hands-on workshops and trainings. So hopefully this one is the beginning from the Emirates Green Building Council. And then really the last on the list was the clear technical guidance or tools. So without further ado, so thanks for sharing this again. I hope that also gave you more insights or more flavor of EPDs and where are we on EPDs. I would like now to introduce Khalid Bouchnaq, Chairman of Emirates Green Building Council, CEO of Energy Management Services, and CEO of Green AI. Khalid, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Abdul Latif. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to welcome you to today's EPD Awareness and Capacity Building Workshop. It's hosted by Emirates Green Building Council and powered by Green AI in collaboration with EPD International and EPD MENA. We're here at a pivotal moment. The demand for transparency and measurable sustainability is accelerating, driven by new regulations, greener procurement, and rising stakeholders' expectations. Environmental Product Declarations, or EPDs, offer a science-based way to assess and disclose a product's environmental impact across its life cycle. But why now? It's because the growth of EPD is exponential, as you will hear shortly from Professor Nasser in his presentation. Markets around the world, and increasingly in the MENA region, are embracing EPDs, not just as a tool for compliance, but as a strategic assets. Early adopters are already shaping the standards and gaining competitive edge. This workshop is about more than awareness. It's about building local capacity and empowering you developers, manufacturers, consultants to take a leadership role in this transition. We are honored to host leading voices today, and I encourage you to engage, ask, and act. Thank you, and let's begin.
Thank you very much, Khalid. And I think we'll start now really the, let's say, the excitement. So if I would introduce Sebastian Stiller, CEO of EPD International, to present for us. Sebastian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Abdullah. Thank you, Lana. Thank you, Colette. Thank you, Emirates Green Building Council, to make this possible to speak in front of you today. I also thanking the other speakers, including, of course, Nasser and Yanis, on this interesting take on introducing the EPD to your region. I have prepared a slide set where I will speak a couple of words about who we are, but then I will focus on the why reason. So why do we need EPDs? Colette had a short introduction already on this, why this is a necessity, turning into a necessity, but I give you a bit more details, and I will talk about some of the regulation that is on its way, that is transforming the EPD into a mandatory reporting document. So maybe 2 words about who we are. So the International EPD system is a global program, and we're open for all kinds of products. Most of our peers, who are also program operators established, focus single on construction materials. We have a very open approach, so we're open for electronics, for food, for textiles. Having said that, still 80% of our EPDs are coming from construction materials, so from the construction industry. But the first EPD that found its light to the world was actually an EPD on electricity. That's the one also in the middle that you can see here from Vattenfall. So who are we? We are operating from Sweden in the Nordics here in Europe, and we have offices in Gothenburg and Stockholm, and in Beijing in China, and in Wuhan. We also have co-location centers that we're currently establishing, and one of them is the co-location center MENA, where then also Nasser Ayub is the managing director, and he will talk about the what and the how a bit more about EPDs than in another presentation. We also have good local, so global representation on all continents except Antarctica. Not to mention, last but least, also in your region here that we're talking, the MENA region, representation in Egypt, also coming now in Tunisia, and we're talking to other prospects also to grow our presence in the MENA region, to be your local voice and local contact person whenever you want to develop an EPD in the future. Now, when I'm talking about the why, I have a list always here listed some of the reasons to get an EPD, and I try to classify them into external drivers and internal drivers. The strongest drivers, I would say, currently are those on the external side, so future legal compliance and a necessity to benchmark. And I will also dive into those 2 topics a bit more in the rest of the remaining of my presentation. But I also want to mention strong drivers for public procurement and also private procurement are, of course, compliance with BREEAM LEED and other green building schemes that are also having EPDs mandatory optional in their rating systems to increase the transparency and also to measure the performance, of course, of products when they're going for such a scheme. Another very strong driver also here with us in the Nordics and in Europe and increasingly all over the world is also inclusion of mandatory reporting as part of public but also private procurement tenders. And this information, of course, is also increasingly being used in BIM, so building information modeling softwares, where architects are trying to develop then, of course, a footprint of a building or something that they're then also developing in that kind of software. The internal drivers are, of course, very important, but then also really company dependent. Some of those you have, as a manufacturer, have corporate sustainability goals. You are actively also marketing your green product line, for example. You're working in eco-design, so how is the next generation of your products going to improve from environmental performance? Just to name a few of those. But as I said, in this kind of 15-20 minutes that I have, I would like to focus on 2 particularly, and the first one is benchmarking. I really like this picture that I'm using a lot in a lot of my presentations because it also reflects a little bit the development that is currently going on. The simple reason is, why do we benchmark? Because you want to do it, because you want to understand where you are, how good you are, or how bad you are. And of course, you want to then also identify or define actions on how you can improve in order to compete with products that may be better than yours, or that you actually can have a claim on this. So EPDs are used a lot for substantiating environmental claims, because this is, of course, what regulation is more and more requiring from us as manufacturers to do. The picture has also another message, because 3-4 years ago it was good enough, maybe 5 years ago, I'm an optimist, it was good enough to have an EPD on a car or an EPD on something, an airplane. But now increasingly decision-making processes are also willing to include more specific information on, for example, spare parts or parts of a building that they are trying to implement in their work. So in the old days, it was good enough to report 200 kilograms of CO2. This is just a fictional number. But nowadays, also, the data user is expecting to have this exact information of an additional, a part of that construct. So think about the chair or the gas pedal that you make a consideration on. And why this is important is that now, when you're thinking, for example, about that steering wheel, and you're contemplating if you want to have a leather or a vegan leather interior, you also start comparing not only on price, but also environmental performance, because in the end, your company may have an ambition to have the lowest carbon footprint of that product that you're going to put to market. The other topic that I now want to touch on, it's I can speak for hours, but I have a limited time, so I will keep it short, is that market regulation is now also slowly moving into, but steadily moving into legal compliance. Of course, we can argue what's going on in the US with Trump, that this regulation is now maybe being slowed down. But as a minimum in Europe and other areas, I mean, the framework for regulation coming into place is very robust and very solid and still supported. Maybe we will see some dewatering, of course, because of the actions in order to remain competitive in all the regions on a global scale. But we only receive positive feedback from regulators that they are really committed to also go down that road to improve the sustainability of their countries. So what we do see is that society is acting on climate change. There's a wish from buyers, from users of products to buy sustainable products, green products. And business is also increasingly committing. So we're thinking here, for example, about the science-based targets. We're thinking about the CDP, all these kind of initiatives that are going on, carbon zero, net goals, you just name it. So companies are also then publicly committing to this. And that means that they need to act, and they also need to know. And what we need to know is that how to transparently communicate then also the impact of your product, so that you actually become comparable and that you can share objective and in this case with an EPD, third-party verified information. Because it's still the fact that society is a bit hesitant to accept statements from companies because they're profit-driven, so they need to have an independent statement stating that the information that is shared is true. So now when we look at this ecosystem, we also see two level playing fields. The first level playing field is an old one, that's the private sector. And the private sector is defining this playing level field because they need clarity on how they can report on conformity, but also on the climate mitigation work that they, of course, are engaged in. So they want to get the credit for their hard work so that they also can show their progress. The fairly new level playing field is the public sector, and especially in Europe, we can say that the regulator is really pushing for the green economy. So by also willing to certain that there is fair market competition and to minimize the risk for greenwashing on such claims. The picture that I have added here is another interesting take. This is an industry challenging another industry, because what we do see here is that the dairy producers of milk products have been challenged by a producer of a vegan product. So they said, my replacement product, which replaces the milk, is a vegan product, has a lower carbon footprint. So please, dairy producers, show me your footprint. How good is your product from environmental performance? And this is a picture that was taken here in Sweden at the central station a couple of years ago. So quite powerful. Now, when we talk about regulation, I have two slides, actually three slides. And I really quickly want to talk you through this. This is really important for anybody who is planning or who is already exporting into Europe. And I know that a lot of other legislators are also taking a very careful look at what is going on here on the European Commission's level. So we have a couple of regulations coming into place. And the first one that I want to talk about is, first of all, the Eco-Design for Sustainable Products Regulation, which is a so-called framework legislation. So what that means is that this is a legislation coming into place that is a catch-it-all. So it's the biggest net that you can imagine in Europe in the sense of regulation. When you want to actually disseminate and communicate about the environmental performance of your products. So this ESPR is in place so that you are it's mandatory to substantiate, so to provide proof for what you claim, what you say in your claim on the environmental performance of your product. This is quite agnostic. This is also method, LCA method agnostic, but also sector or industry agnostic. Then we have CPR, which is a sector-specific regulation, and this one particularly for the construction materials. And this is in the CPR currently. We have adopted an LCA method which follows the EN 1504, so which is a European standard for construction materials buildings. And this EN 1504 is the chosen method, and now is also coming into play. And since from 2026, the first product families that are part of this CPR will need to start mandatory reporting environmental performance. In this case, the global warming potential. But you still need to have a full LCA. So what it means also is that in this construct, the EPD as we know it, and I have a slide on it later, so the environmental product declarations that we're talking about today, they are slowly but steadily transforming from a voluntary report into a mandatory report. And in Europe, this mandatory report is called a Declaration of Performance and Conformity. And I'm going to talk about the slight differences here then in 2 minutes as well. But what it means is that this kind of products, that product families that are part of an European standard, so they're covered by European standard under the CPR, they will need to start in time to start reporting the Declaration of Performance currently containing environmental, so global warming potential, so CO2 equivalents, following a full LCA. And then we have other regulation that is then also built that follows this one. So we have the EU taxonomy, we have the EPD for sustainable buildings, and then we have the EED for public procurement of buildings. And they all basically relate to that kind of regulation that's laying on top of it. And then also being to be implemented in the national member states, the 27 member states, as a regulation. Because there's a difference between regulation and directives. A regulation all member states need to adopt without discussion, and directives leave a little bit of leeway for the member states and also to fine-tune that to their own national situation. I'm not going to go into this one, but this is the harmonized zone, and here we expect in the coming years that roughly 300 to 400,000 companies owned in Europe will need to start reporting mandatorily on this kind of aspect. Now, then you wonder, what about those products that are not part of a European standard? What's going to happen with them? Well, I mean, there still will be demand from data users, so architects, to understand what the environmental performance is of a product that is not part of a standard, because it still goes into a building, for example. So you still need to calculate with those numbers. And there we're talking about a non-harmonized zone. And in a non-harmonized zone, even the European Commission's officers, the policy officers, have understood and recognized that the future needs lots of EPDs. So they're not controlled, they're not harmonized in that sense. But of course, the EPD itself will need to be harmonized with the other DOPs, the Declaration of Performances that are coming to market, so that an architect still can work on the calculations on the building level. So this is a challenge, but this is a challenge that we're willing to take for you then as the users and the developers of LCA and EPDs or DOPCs. That is also what I mentioned. So alignment here with the legislator and the market is key to drive comparability in this kind of reporting framework that we're currently looking at. What does it mean? And this is now a little bit for the nerds, I admit, but I think this is important because I understood that at least half of the audience has an understanding of EPDs and LCA. So what it means, if you look at the left side, you see LCA for EPD, which is a currently voluntary reporting, and I'm just going to touch on the most important aspects here. So the LCA basis is EN 1584 for construction materials, and that's not going to change when we look at the European Commission. But the European Commission has said this is a reference standard. So what they do, they take the framework, they take the standard, and then they develop their own so-called CPCRs, so complementary PCRs. And this is leading to confusion because in our EPD system, we also make use of so-called CPCRs, complementary PCRs. But what it in essence means, it is a specification of rules, of LCA rules for specific product families. So product, you can think about metal constructions or concrete or whatever. And now, of course, the challenge is like then for the industry or for the market that we find as much alignment in those rules, because if the European Commission is going to develop one thing and then another one is going to develop something else, we don't have a harmonized single approach. I'm not saying that we're there yet, but this is, of course, now what is going on here. So we need to be on our toes. Another thing is also that the reporting, I apologize. The reporting of the results will also be slightly different. This is still under discussion, but in an EPD, you typically make use of an average value that you present in the sense of an average product. But in the DOPC, you will need to report the worst case principle with values better or equal to declared. So this is a slightly different way of reporting it. And if you have one indicator of impact category, like global warming potential, this may make sense. But if you now also in the future, in 2030, will not start need to reporting all the other impact categories, and they're all based on worst case, then you don't have a representative product anymore. Then you can ask yourself, what am I reporting actually then to the European Commission? So this is now something that is still under development, under negotiations, but the worst case principle seems to be implemented. The difference, of course, again, an EPD, as it mentioned, is a voluntary document, but the DOPC is a mandatory document. This also means that once you're in the market in Europe and you need to report, you need to have a DOPC, and you can have an EPD, but it shall contain the identical information of the EPD. So here, again, we're talking about the word future harmonization. That we need to be focused on. So in order to remain useful when we look at the data that are then also being shared. This is a lengthy process. It started a long time ago, but now there's a lot of organized work going on in groups of notified bodies, because this all requires also accreditation and notification bodies to do this work when we talk about DOPCs. We as EPD International, I can say already now here, we are currently also looking for accreditation so that we can offer both EPDs and DOPCs to our clients in the future once this will become mandatory. And the start will be in the sense of a transition period starting from 2026 onwards for specific categories. So there will be 2-3 families coming in 2026, and then another product comes, and etc., etc. So this is a process that will take 6, 7, 10, 20 years until all the products will become mandatory. So we have time, but it's already tomorrow when it takes place for the first ones to come to market. And important, no EPD is not crucial. Sometimes it's an access to markets, access to public procurement, to be part of a tender. But if you're in the European market and you have no DOPC, you have no CE mark, and you have no market access. So this is really a strong point here. So if you have export into Europe, start getting yourself informed via this kind of webinars and other webinars, of course, also to understand what this means to you. And I think that's it from my side.
Thank you very much,
And I hope
Sebastian.
that I covered all the languages that are now represented in this meeting, Abdullah.
Well, I see Arabic and English. Yeah, probably, yes. So thank you very much, Sebastian, for really setting, if you say, the scene and giving us more insights on what's happening globally, but more particularly in Europe. And also thank you for sharing new abbreviations that we have now to learn about. So it was EPD only, and now there is DOPC and DPC and more.
I have a list of abbreviations that I can share as a pit stop for the participants when we share the slide deck. But there's a lot of acronyms. I totally agree with you. So
yeah, I think this by itself is a challenge for everyone. But thank you again. Now, please allow me to introduce and ask Dr. Nasser Ayub, Managing Director of EPD MENA, to take us through his presentation. We're going now more on the MENA regional, let's say, scale, but also learn more about EPDs from Dr. Nasser. Dr. Nasser, the floor is yours. Thank you. Dr. Nasser, you are muted.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Abdul Latif. Do you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Abdul Latif, Mr. Khalid, and Lana, and UAE GPC, and Green AI for such a great and super workshop. I'm really happy to have lots of passionate people in this workshop. I will talk today about what is EPD, why, and how. It's from the ground or from the street, so the street language of EPD. So I will just give a brief explanation about what is CLC EPD MENA, what is environmental product declaration, why people are asking to submit EPD reports, and then how to develop an EPD. And then we'll speak about our next step with Green AI, about market development and capacity building, and then we will take questions. So starting from EPD MENA. So EPD MENA started 2023, March 2023. Actually, it happens to be announced in CSR Forum, Egypt CSR Forum 2023, where I am now in. So it is almost 2 years. We started with 10 countries, as you can see in the map, and then we currently we extended to have 13 countries, as they are appearing in the bottom of this slide. As Mr. Sebastian said, the role of EPD MENA is to develop the market, is to have more licensees in each country, so that we can talk with people, with their culture, with their regulation. So people who are working in certain country, they know what is needed from the industry, from the regulator, from anybody who is asking about the EPD. So this was one thing, is to have more licensees in the MENA region. We started last year with Tunisia, and now this year maybe we will announce Saudi Arabia, and hopefully UAE also by the end of this year. So our main focus, other focus is capacity building. So raising the awareness about what is EPD, why it is used, and providing trainings and supporting consultants and the companies to develop their EPD. So starting from what is environmental product declaration. So environmental declaration is an independently verified and registered document. So, or what is called type 3 environmental declaration. Type 3 because it is verified and registered. You have third-party verification. It is built on a methodology, quantitative methodology. It's also used a trusted document that enable comparison between products that fulfilling the same function. By function here being, if we can compare the reinforced polymers with steel, because both of them now are used in the construction and in concrete work. So this is what I mean by function. So steel and reinforced polymers, they do the same function. EPD is done according to three standards. The general standard for EPD is ISO 14024, and this is provide general principles and procedures. But if you want to have your EPD for construction material, then you will have another two standards, ISO 21930, and this is mainly for USA, required by USA market, and EN 15804, and this is required by European market. And actually, this is the main driver and the main standard that define the requirements of the EPD for construction sector. Here, this is some statistics about EPD international system. So until now, we are almost end of 2024. We had 12,000. Now I think we are almost 13,500. Before the end of 2025. This is in general, but most of them are construction material. As you can see, about 9,470 are for construction products, and then 14% other products. Other products like food and beverage, furniture, metal, and all type of products and services, actually. So service, for example, we have an EPD for cleaning service for hotels and for commercial buildings. So this is the type of EPD we have. We have actually a document that we can do an EPD for consultation services. So this is then this is year by year, like Mr. Sebastian said, we started like 2000 and or 1999, but then, as you can see here, starting from the last 5 years, everything has changed, and the trend is exponential, as you can see. But what about EPD MENA? EPD MENA, 98.4% are for construction materials. So mainly we have 371 construction products EPDs, and we have 6 others. So this is in MENA region. For the others, we have 4 in metal and minerals, for aluminum and steel. We have 2 for textile and footwear, and 1 for electricity production. And here is the situation or the status in the MENA region. As you can see, UAE is actually the highest country in EPD published. Actually, starting from year 22, actually they had there were a drop in the middle between years, but this year I think the number has increased tremendously. Then followed by Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Egypt, Bahrain, Morocco, and Algeria. And so this is over years, EPD's publication over years. Last year, 216 out of this about 400 EPDs are published 2024. And this year, I think we will have even more than that. So as I said, and as the statistics showed, the most of the EPDs published in MENA region are construction materials, and these are screenshots from several producers from UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and others. Actually, as I said, EPD can be done for anything, and so for olive oil. So currently with EPD Tunisia, some people are working on developing EPD for olive oil and for construction materials as well. So when we are asked, somebody contact me, I say I need an EPD certificate. So is EPD a certificate? Actually, no, EPD is more than that. EPD is a report built on a life cycle assessment methodology. It is a certificate so that you can have a copy of one certificate from EPD International, as you can see here, or you can have what is called the climate declaration. So only the global warming emissions or global warming related emissions in this climate declaration. So either you can have the report, the certificate, or climate declaration, or all of them together. So depending on who is asking you about the EPD. So this is EPD. So why? Basically, people are using it for decarbonization. As you can see, if you are doing diet, then you will look for fat and you will look for proteins and so on. And if you want to do decarbonization, then you need to know the energy consumption per ton of your material, global warming, and water consumption, especially in our region. So EPD provides such information. Then we can work on this and decarbonize our products. Also, yeah, this can be done through many ways, like optimizing manufacturing processes and improving the supply chain. You know, the EPD considers the whole supply chain of the product. Actually, it's currently EPD is used in supporting green buildings. So as you can see here, this is what's called construction material pyramid. It's a Danish product. So this built on the EPDs published in EPD International. As you can see here, is the materials of the building materials. And if you want to calculate the emissions, then you can just select from these materials how these materials are used in your building, and finally you can find here in the bottom of the slide how much total CO2 emissions in your building. So this is one of the uses. Actually, Leeds is using it, I think, the same way. So we spoke about what is EPD and why it is used. So how to develop the EPD? Actually, it's 5 steps, as you can see here. selecting a BCR. I will speak in a moment about what is BCR. We have like more than 130 BCR in our library, in EPD International Library. And then we do LCA, compile the information into an EPD. It's worthy to say that the EPD is a document produced from the results of the life cycle assessment. So many people are asking, can we do EPD without life cycle assessment? And the answer, of course, is no. So you need to do the life cycle assessment and have the results compiled to EPD, then it needs to be verified. We have until now more than 130 approved verifier, approved by EPD International. Then once the verifier approved, they can appear in the EPD portal. So this is in general the process. The BCR, if you want to know the PCR of your product, then you can just sign in EPD portal of EPD International, and then you may select the product category. So as I said, product category rules, it's the materials, they impact the environment different ways. So food products is impacting the environment different from construction, different from electricity, different from others. So basically, we need to identify what is the product category of our product. Then we will have this BCR, and the BCR will give us the instruction of how to do the life cycle assessment, what boundaries we consider. As I said, we have cradle to grave. So what kind of material inputs, what kind of energy inputs, where to stop the life cycle? Is it cradle to gate or cradle to grave? Declare the function. I mean, is it 1 ton of product, or is it 1 square meter, like in glass, for example, or 1 cubic meter, like in gas? So basically, we need to identify these things. So if you select the sector of your product, then you can download the BCR and you will know how to identify the system boundaries and how to do, and what kind of impact categories that you need to include in in your life cycle assessment study. Life cycle assessment study, as I said, so here is based on ISO 1444. We need to, this is what is called system boundary, the things I was speaking about. We have a t-shirt, this is the product, and this is the product system that produces, the factory that produces the t-shirt. But should we consider all these stages or not? This is decided by the PCR. So to do the life cycle assessment, according to ISO 1444, we have 4 stages: goal and scope. So what is the goal of your study? Are you doing it only to do an EPD, or you are doing it to improve your study? Because the level of details you need to include in the life cycle assessment report, it depends on this goal and scope of the study. Then inventory, which is the most difficult part for many people, the inventory. So what kind of data inputs, energy, waste, emissions to air, emission to water, emission to soil. So every every input and output along the supply chain of your product needs to be collected in here using softwares and software tools. We do the life cycle impact assessment, the third step, then interpret the results into interpretation. So these are the 4. Then start writing the report. Once the report is ready, we will have the impact assessment report. The impact assessment stage will have the impact categories that we will copy from the life cycle assessment report and compile it to the EPD. So it's basically just taking the results from the life cycle assessment, putting it for EPD. So why should I do that? Why didn't we just issue the life cycle assessment report? Because the life cycle assessment report include everything, all material inputs or energy, all where did you bring your materials and where the environmental measurements of your company and so on. So this is a bit of sensitive material that we don't need to share. So EPD is a way to get the benefits of the life cycle assessment, get the results, show it to the people without exposing the industry and the producer to competitors. So this is compiling, as you can see here. This is a typical EPD. We have the name of the product. We have the information on the validity. So the validity of the EPD is 5 years, and the EPD registration number and EPD program, and then the location of the manufacturer. So these are the general data we provide. Then we need to provide a photo for the product and the general specification, the technical specification, and the physical specification of the product. What is functional unit, where the data are calculated for. So emissions per ton, emissions per kilogram, or whatever. This should be declared here. And the reference service life, which is applicable for building LCA. So for example, if I will use the product, the lifetime of the product is 20 years and the building life cycle is 40, then I need to use 2 of this product. So basically, this is the information we have in the EPD. We have the content of the product, general content, percentages. We need to have also the single train product, so starting from extraction of raw material to the end of life. So this is explained in the EPD. Then we have how the type of EPD, because for example, we have one company that had several sites like multinational companies. Then we can produce one EPD for the same product that is produced in different places under specific rules. So we have single company EPD, we have product group EPD, we have different types. We need to identify here in the document. And as you can see, this is the mandatory indicators according to EN 15804. So this is a global warming potential, ozone depletion, and acidification, and so on. So these are results of the life cycle assessment study. We have separate or additional impact indicator for global warming, as you can see from global issue. Yeah, global warming potential, yes. So the global warming potential, as you can see here, we have from A1 to A3, then A4, A1 to A3. A1 is the production of raw material, A2 transportation to the factory, A3 is the manufacturing process, and then A4 transportation to the client, and then installation in the building, and so on. So these are the stages of the life cycle and the emissions of the stages. The use phase is not mandatory in most of the PCRs. So you can see here it's mostly 0. But the most important thing here is that we when we declare E1 to A3 together, we declare this also to not to expose the industry. So we are having A1, A2, and A3 together and putting them here. but in the LCA report, we need to report them as A1, A2, A3. So basically, as I said, EPD is more trying to protect the producer. Here is the process, the resources and energy used also in each stage. We have here also the waste, so hazardous waste, non-hazardous waste, radioactive waste along the life cycle of the product. Then once you have this EPD, you have now the life cycle assessment report, you have the EPD, you need to send them to the verifiers. As I said, they are listed in EPD International System homepage. You need to access to the portal to upload your EPD and the life cycle background report. You may select the verifier from there. Maybe also you can, it's any one of these verifiers, you need to communicate without any restrictions. So just get quotations from them, and then the one you prefer, then you can contact. One very important thing here is that the communication with the verifier and the payment to the verifier should go through the producer. So the consultant cannot pay the verifier. The consultant can arrange the thing, but all communication should be between the manufacturer and the verifier. This is a very important point. And finally, once the verifier approved, then you will upload it to the EPD portal, and then it will be, you will pay. Also the manufacturer should do the account on the EPD portal, pay the fees, and then it will be published in the EPD. As I said, this is the page of one EPD product. We can see here EPD document and other documents, which is the registration certificate. The third document, which is climate declaration, it is issued under fees, so you have to ask for it and pay the fees. You can check this in EPD International System website. Now we came to the last slide. So I would like to thank Mr. Khalid very much for arranging such a great and super workshop. We are planning to promote the EPD in the region. So Green AI, EPD MENA under the EPD International will start arranging a series of trainings to improve the status of EPD practitioners in the region. Thank you so much. And if you have any question, please shoot.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nasser. That was really very informative. I think we have a lot of information to really absorb and digest, and then more terms to learn about. We're gonna keep. We started receiving questions from the audience, but we're gonna keep the questions towards the end. We'll give now 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes. If you want to stretch out, grab a cup of tea or a glass of water, and then we will continue the discussions with our esteemed panelists, and then open floors to answer the questions that we started receiving or the new questions. So please, really less than 5 minutes. If you wanna, do something, be back. Otherwise, you can just wait for the others. So see you very, very soon. Keep your cameras on so we see you, that you don't go away, right? the questions we have, it seems we need another workshop to be able to answer them all. Let's see what can we do. We're still receiving many questions, and there is one very good suggestion, is that we compile all these questions in like one document and have answers to them, and then maybe share it with the audience. But that means Sebastian and Dr. Nasser and probably the panelists, you have some homework to do after that. But I think it's worth.
As much as
With
possible.
pleasure. With pleasure. No problem. Yeah.
We'll do that, of course. We'll open floor for answering now, but just in case, because I see the flow of questions not stopping. All right, maybe we should start again. I hope everyone is back to their screen. And now we will be joined with an esteemed panelists representing different sectors in the built environment. So I will start introducing them, the panelists, and ask them to put their cameras on if they haven't done already. So we have with us Dr. Yanis Panos, VP Sustainability from Expo City, Dubai. We have also Nahla Naame, Sustainable Solutions Specialist, Europe, Middle East, Saint-Gobain. And we have Ragini Kalapatapu, Associate Director, ESG Lead for Middle East and South Asia from Aegis. And Dania Ramadan, Sustainability Manager from Viston Grow. So we want to hear really from you again, your insights or your, let's say, your thoughts about EPDs from your sector. So I will start with Dr. Yanis from Expo City, representing the developers, let's say, part. Do you need really EPDs? And if yes, how do you use them, or how they help you in your work as a developer, Dr. Yanis?
It's a very good question. Let's start from the point that as a developer and as a city, we would like to first calculate what is our environmental impact, which is quite important. Also, we have defined some targets. We have defined some targets for our long-term decarbonization roadmap, and that requires by 2030 to be able to reduce our embodied carbon emission for real estate and other sources. It's quite important to mention the other sources by 40%. That's in 5 years' time. Currently, we have done a lot of test and analysis, and we believe we can reduce our embodied carbon emissions by around 20% by better design, but there is still a gap. The question is how we will be able to evaluate where we are, and how we'll be able to monitor, and how we'll be able accurately to report it for ourselves within our annual reports. That will require a type of assessment, a certification, and EPD provides that. As part of that, we requiring at least 60% of our projects to have an EPD, which I will not say is in line with the requirements of LEED version 4 and 4.1, but we have seen a very good correlation. LEED 4.1 requires about at least 20 EPD. If it's product specific, if it's not product specific, this is about 40 EPDs. Currently, we have collected almost 160, 170 EPDs in the market, so I believe that's where they stand the market. For some sectors, we have a very good correlation of environmental product declarations, outputs, and the overall market. I can say reinforcement steel, we have a lot of good data. For other sectors where we have small suppliers and we have a lot of small materials within the buildings, but in a lot of big quantity, I believe the market is lacking environmental product declaration. But we want to see also the long term. If we like to move to higher percentages, we need more environmental product declarations. I don't know if the European Union taxonomy regulations will have an impact on us. But what I believe we may have an impact in the market and potentially for us is the new LEED version 5 standard, which require now a full embodied carbon for 11 categories to be done for each project. I believe the challenge, as I can see it, because we're looking with a lot of suppliers, it is first of all regulatorily from their side. Until now, they didn't have to provide any data to anyone. So for them, it's quite shock somebody to start asking all this long list of data and evidence. And of course, in some ways, is the cost. For the second one, I'll let the market decide. But for the first one, the new federal decree law 11/2024 on the reduction of climate change effects requires all the industry in the UAE, if they have to report it or not, to start measuring their carbon emissions, water, energy, waste, if I remember correctly. Based on the questionnaire, if it will become within the next 6 months or 1 year a regulatory framework, I really don't know. It's quite vague. But as a developer representative, I can tell you if we don't have EPDs, it's almost impossible to be able to evaluate our impact. And that's the quite important aspect we have to consider.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yanis. I want to move to Regini now from Aegis.
Hi, Abdul Latif. Hi, everyone.
How are you?
I'm very sorry my video doesn't seem to be working today.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, I can speak.
Thank you very much, Regini. It's kind of similar question to Dr. Yanis, but now since the developers already use the EPDs and they, requested from their, let's say, suppliers, etc. Now you as a consultant, how EPDs help you, or why do you really need EPDs if you need them?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. So as lead design consultants at Aegis, we're working across multiple infrastructure and building projects. We routinely conduct life cycle assessments across a diverse portfolio of assets, as you know. And in our practice, environmental product declarations or EPDs are more than just data points, and they're very critical for delivering performance-driven design. And they help us guide our clients towards smarter material choices, influencing a life cycle thinking approach and assessing whole life carbon. So we're fortunate to have clients who are increasingly prioritizing the reduction of embodied carbon emissions. We've noticed also a broader shift across the market, whether it's driven by green building standards. Eunice had just mentioned about LEED version 5 requirements, investor expectations, or the national climate targets, and again, quoting Eunice about the federal decree law in the UAE. So there is a growing appetite for data-backed material decisions. But our experience with life cycle assessments also kind of reveals a few challenges, which I'd like to share. Firstly, there is limited availability of EPDs for the regionally sourced materials and any innovative low carbon alternatives, for example. And this becomes a bottleneck when we try to propose advanced solutions to our clients without specific EPDs, because it makes it difficult to validate the reductions and building a strong sustainability case around them. And the second challenge is that we also notice inconsistencies in the EPD quality and comparability. So there may be variations on the impact categories declared or the system boundaries, or sometimes even the units of analysis, which makes apples to apples comparisons difficult. So that's why we advocate for third-party verified EPDs in the regional context. Platforms like CARES are a great example of what's possible, but we do recognize that for many local suppliers, the process can seem complex. So I end with a message to the suppliers that maybe they can take the first step, even beginning with basic documentation of environmental impacts could be a meaningful move. And from there, maybe progressing towards verified EPDs becomes much more achievable. And ultimately, it will allow these suppliers to become active contributors to the region's decarbonization goals.
Thank you very much, Regine. And I'm going to take your message immediately to a manufacturer with us here on this panel. We have Nahla from Saint-Gobain. And I would like to hear from you, Nahla, again, but from a manufacturer, let's say, angle, you know. I know Saint-Gobain produce many products, and they also produce or have EPDs. So if you share with us your experience about, you know, the production of EPDs for your products, why are you doing this? We heard there's no regulatory requirement, at least here in the UAE or in the region. I know Saint-Gobain is global, but what made Saint-Gobain go towards, you know, producing EPDs for their products? How do you see this process? Do you have any, you know, issues, challenges that you face? Thank you, Nahla.
Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for all this special presentation about LCA and EPDs. The subject is very important now in the Middle East region because we have different requests from different parts, different stakeholders. At Saint-Gobain, we set a target. We have two targets. The first one is for 2030. The first one is to achieve 100% of our product covered by an LCA in 2030. So we start working on this task. We need to know the impact of our product on the environment and different other indicators. So this is the first target, internal target of our company, because sustainability for Saint-Gobain, it's not just a trend. It's in the DNA of the company. That's why we said this target, and the other one is for 2050 to achieve net zero carbon for our building. That's why we start working on LCA. And after, we have different requests from all Middle East countries, especially in UAE, in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, Lebanon also. For Lebanon, for example, because I'm based in Lebanon, but I work for all Middle East countries, we did 4 EPDs. For Lebanon, it's new. It's not mandatory. So we need a cost to have EPDs. So it's an investment. But EPD, it's very important also for labeling and for green building labeling. That's why to go to a big project like LEED project, platinum, silver, or other big certification, we need to have EPDs also for our product. So LCA, it's mandatory for Saint-Gobain, but EPD, it's for eco-innovation, for communication. It's a request from the market, from clients, from sales team. That's why we choose the top selling product of our producing product, and we start working on EPDs. In 2023, for example, we did around 20 EPDs. In 2024, we did around 56. In 2025, for this year, we have a target around 122 EPDs for all Middle East countries. So you can see we have a big request from the market, from clients, from sales team, and it's also to tell you, it's also to have a big weight in the market and for communication and a differentiation in the market. We are a leader also in sustainable construction and lightweight facade. So that's why we need to work on EPDs, the environmental product declaration, and life cycle assessment. Now it's mandatory for us also to have EPDs. We start working on LCA, but now it's mandatory also to have EPDs, not for all our product, because we have a big range of product in mortars, gypsum, insulation, glass, but for family, we can also do family EPD for family of product like glass, for example. We have different type of mirror, for example. We did EPD for family of product. That's why I think EPD will be mandatory in 2 or 3 years or 5 years maximum.
Thank you, Nahla. You said it's now mandatory. This is because of Saint-Gobain's decision that this having EPDs is mandatory, right?
Yes, exactly. It's Saint-Gobain decision. It's a target of our company to know the impact of our product, to innovate also in the recipe of the product, because it's also helping us to have a better innovation process. So once we know the impact of our product on the environment, we can innovate in the recipe, in the formulation of our product, so we can know where we should work and which life cycle assessment. You know, we have different steps from extraction of raw material to manufacturing, transportation, use, installation, use, end of life. So once we did the life cycle assessment, we can see where we have the maximum CO2 emission, maybe in the production phase, maybe in the mobility, maybe in the industry, so maybe in the recipe. So we can know also where we can innovate in the process.
Very good. I see this very well links to what Sebastian started in his presentation when he said there are like external and internal drivers for EPDs, and it seems you've gone with the internal first, but then you started also addressing the external drivers. Thank you very much, Nahla, for your insights.
You're welcome.
I want to go now to Dania and kind of link points together and maybe ask you this question. So when I saw the presentations of Sebastian, Dr. Nasser, I was like very kind of excited and positive, seeing the growth in the number of EPDs, but also more than 98% of EPDs in MENA is for construction products, and globally, I think if I remember the number is about 80 or more % is for construction materials. Yet Now, when we heard Yanis and Regni, they said, no, there is not enough EPDs for them, really, which shows that the scale is really very, very big. So Dania, is it very difficult to get an EPD? Is the process, very demanding, very lengthy? I would like to hear from you. What do you think about the process of getting EPDs?
So the process itself, especially when dealing with manufacturers, the most difficult part is actually the data collection stage. So getting all of the information of who their suppliers are, how much energy and water they need, the production of like one unit of the material itself, because they don't specifically have this data stored in one place either, or only one person would have this information. So it's kind of scattered around in the manufacturing company. So the data collection phase does usually take a while. I would say about 2 months, maybe 3 months, depending on the manufacturer and the data that they have as well. But honestly, we've seen exponential growth right now with the EPDs, as we saw in Dr. Nasser's presentation, and in the industry itself. Like as mentioned by Yanis, the LEED V5, yes, we have the 11 categories that he mentioned, and now it's also a prerequisite. Keep that in mind. Just having the carbon emissions kind of there. And the developers and the national targets that have been set also help with this exponential growth. And even when it comes to the building life cycle assessment credit in LEED version 5, before in LEED version 4 and 4.1, the maximum points that you could get was literally 4. And now it has changed to 6 and 7. So this is also motivating the manufacturers to produce these EPDs, because they will gain a competitive advantage within the market itself and will grow business for them in a way. And keep in mind, this is also increasing awareness and transparency as well for the products themselves and the manufacturing and the supplier itself. So the process, back to your original question, the process itself, yes, it can be lengthy, but it does depend on who you're working with. So I would say about like 6 months to a year, depending on data collection and the verification process and all these different stages. But sometimes it can be done less than 6 months. Again, depends on who you're working with and the data that they have.
Thank you very much, Dania. I'd like to give the floor maybe to Dr. Nasser and Sebastian, if you have any comments on what you have heard so far from our panelists. Since you work really in EPDs, that's what you do, every day. Any comments about what you just heard from the panelists?
So yeah, I can quickly respond. I think especially the last one, also to Dania, but also to what we heard from Nala. I mean, the increase is there, the demand is there, the process is there. I also saw some of the comments already that we can comment on later. There's also, of course, a need for simplification in the sense of becoming more efficient in this process. So data-driven digitalization, or whatever you're going to call it here. But at the same time, we have to be careful that this vast expansion is not ignoring the fact that we still need to consider the quality of the results. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the key challenge that we're seeing here now, because the EPD is moving from a voluntary, I would say, argue, a niche market into a mass market, because, like you said, it's not only LEED, but it's also the regulator. So 400,000 companies who have actually never done LCA all of a sudden are confronted with doing LCA. And we need to do this differently. We need to do this on scale. And I think this is something that I can see is in the questions, but also in how we do EPD today. And that we need to be very clever, because if you just think about on a global scale, we may have 400 qualified LCA verifiers who can do EPD verification. And then I'm optimistic. And these 400 may do train the trainer. And they do maybe, they can quadruple in 2-3 years. Still, we're facing millions of products that need an LCA, an EPD. So here there's something brewing. We have an idea, of course, where this is going, but it's clear that things need to be done more efficiently, differently. But yeah, that's a comment here.
Thank you, Sebastian. Dr. Nasser, do you have any comment to?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I also have a comment on Dania. She said like 2-3 months. I think this is good time. I mean, it takes even more in many countries. So basically, in Egypt and in Saudi Arabia, it is at minimum like 6-7 months to complete an EPD. So this is one thing. I think the obstacle here that many people are asking about EPD, and we want to develop EPD, and like as I saw now. One comment say the cost of verification is $15,000, which is, and this is not true. I mean, this is I don't mean true that the question is not. Yes, there are many people use the lack of awareness in the market and just try to get use of it and put just a very high price. So this is crazy price, not a very high. Also, the cost of developing EPD ranges. I can say from $1,500 to $15,000. So depending on the number of products, depending on the complexity of the process and so on. And actually, maybe in the GCC market. This is I don't know why it is like that. Why it is? I mean, this cost compared to the standard of life in the GCC area is fine. I mean, but in other MENA region, I'm sorry, I'm talking about MENA. It's MENA because in a country like Egypt, so this is huge money, and this is one of the things that hinder the development of the EPD. So this is one thing, and the other thing is from the consultant side, the cost of the software. The software, most of the consultants try to use an easier one, or sometimes they don't know, so they go to a high cost or subscription based solutions, which they pay like 10,000 euros per year, so they can move to. And this is actually what we are trying to do. We are trying to bring the price down so that more people will produce EPD, because the cost is actually one of the major causes why EPDs are not very it is popular, but it is not. There are not so many EPDs published in the region, and this we will work with Mr. Khalid in UAE and with our partners in the region to bring this down. So this is my general comment on the.
Thank you, Dr. Nasser. And thank you. I see we started answering some of the questions, which is good.
I just want to add something. Excuse me. I want to talk about our experience at Saint-Gobain, how we do the process to obtain EPD. So internally, we create or we developed a team, a sustainability team. We have the manager and we have specialists, and we choose leaders in each Middle East country. So in each Middle East country, we have one leader or 2 or 3 maximum, depend of the request of EPDs in this country. So we do the process internally. We start the process to do EPD. We have data collection, the first step of EPD. We have second one, the LCA calculation. Third one is LCA report, EPD report. And after, we need an external verifier to do the verification. And after, we can publish our EPD on EPD International. So we do all the process internally, from data collection to LCA EPD reports internally. So we have the sustainability team. We do data collection internally. We have leaders in each country. Their job is not just to do data collection. There are from, for example, lab, R&D, different teams. So we did training for these people to know how to do data collection. So now we start working on this. We generate data collection, and they send me these files. We develop this file with Central Team of Paris. So we have the template from Central Team of Paris, the data collection file. We fill all data inside this file, and after I do the verification for this data, of course, with Gaia, with different parts, and after we have a software, the LCA calculation software. Now it's LCA calculator. We have the license, and we start working internally on LCA calculation. We generate the results, LCA results, and after we work on LCA report, EPD report. All this process is internally. That's why we can. We don't have a lot of cost for this process. We don't put a lot of time for this process. Just we need the external part for the verification part. So this is our process internally, how we do EPDs in Saint-Gobain, and how we can also answer the request of the market, because every year we have a big number of EPDs to do.
That's very good. Thank you very much, Nahla, for sharing your experience. I hope that also kind of inspire others.
Thank you.
Dr. Yanis, I want to go back to you. Keeping in mind, again, it's EPDs. If I ask you to choose one stakeholder relevant to EPDs, and you choose the stakeholder and give him or her a message that will help you in your work when you need EPDs, who will be the stakeholder, and what is your message to them, or to him, or to her?
Now, in a nice way, you put me in a very difficult situation. But let's understand, first of all, what we're trying to achieve with EPDs. We're trying to achieve transparency, and we're trying to achieve disclosures, and we're trying to identify what is the gap with Scope 3 emissions that the industry is lacking. So I believe the stakeholders will be all of us at the end of the day, because me as a client, I have to report my Scope 3 emissions. My supply chain must understand what the Scope 1 and 2 emissions and the Scope 3. And of course, there has to be a system, if it's EPD or regulation-wise, like the federal law or the next stages, that can support. But the important is to understand why we're doing it. We don't do it just to have another certification or ask from our supply another certification. We're not doing it to increase the cost of our projects. We're doing purely to understand what we have to achieve as part of the decarbonization roadmap, and of course, as part of the design and the construction, how to optimize our buildings better. I was checking the questions as someone asked why EPD are needed for the design. For me, it's the most important stage, because the architect, the civil engineers, the structural engineers come with different solutions. This needs to be quantified even before we've closed the design. Only then we can manage and reduce by better design and better material selection. The construction element is the proof. And in many cases, we're asking for, almost all our cases, we're asking for our designers, if they put clauses within the specifications about carbon reduction, which is part of our performance indicators, to quantify these requirements by provide evidence that consider the EPD during the design. I hope I respond to your question, expanded further. Okay.
Yeah, you responded to my question in a different way, but thank you very much, Dr. Yanis. Ragini, I'm not going to ask you the same question, But one thing that you know can help you really in your work using EPDs or having EPDs, what would be that?
Having EPDs in our work, yes, because then we can quantify our design solutions in terms of our carbon reduction measures. This will help us reach or allow our clients to reach their climate goals. So this will make our LCA calculations a bit more streamlined. And then we can make, as I mentioned before, our comparisons between products will be more systematic and more structured. So this way we can treat EPDs like nutrition labels. So we know what the ingredients are inside a material or inside a product. And this will then allow us to do our calculations in a more systematic manner. And this will again drive the decarbonization goals of the region.
Mm-hmm. And do you I mean, when you do your designs and studies, do you automatically, let's say, specify materials that are sustainable, and then of course then you need the EPDs to prove that or to make sure that that's correct, or is it based on your client's request?
So in the design stage, we do have a lot of influence in going with, more optimized material choices or influencing our designers as well as our clients into sustainable choices. So we do have that liberty to go with, alternative materials and alternative innovative solutions and approaches. But in order to make the strong sustainability case for those materials or, for those design options, we need the EPDs to kind of, do the assessments properly and to also show the reductions or the achievements to the clients in a unified manner, if that makes sense.
All right, thank you. I'm going through the questions, and I think the good news is that a number of them were already answered in the comments or in the replies from the panelists and the presenters. But I have Mohammed Saeed raising his hand. Mohammed, you have a question or a comment?
Yes, good afternoon, Dr. Latif and Mr. Khalid and Sebastian. I just like, as we work a long time in sustainability and all of EPD, similar to EPD, and I think it's costly and like what you said, it's over and head on the responsibility of the company since located under ESG and CSR, and it's a kind of auditing and some responsibility. So I'd like to suggest only if the real estate, we can invite real estate to be a partner for this study. So real estate, they're gonna, everybody win, real estate, especially in Dubai, I'm sure they are willing to or something, because it's a complicated. Is it for home, industrial, commercial, residential, industry? So, it can be for most of them. So real estate can do a little bit a value in this study. Why we don't invite real estate companies or and to promote the green buildings and to do to be as a partner on this study. And from other hand, I think also we need to to do some out of the box. We need to think out of the box to encourage this kind of study in ESG or CSR, because it's a cost. Who will pay this cost? And thank you for your time. Thanks.
Thank you, Mohammed, for your comments and suggestion. I'll go through some of the questions that may not have been answered during the discussions, and the floor is to anyone really to answer from the panelists and the presenters. Okay, so this is very specific a question. How in Egypt, for instance, they don't have enough EPDs for cement and steel while they export their products to Europe? So I think we understood that to export to Europe, you have to comply with what Europe asks, and they ask for EPDs. So how, I think this question could expand not just to Egypt, but to other countries in the region, how they are exporting to Europe if they don't have EPDs.
I can respond
Yes.
to this one. For Egypt, no, actually in cement industry, actually we only have 4% of the cement industry for export. So basically, we have it in the either in the MENA region or in Egypt. So only 4% goes to the European Union, but still we have like 6 or 7 companies in Egypt already published their EPDs from cement industry. We have like 2 of the biggest producers of steel have produced their EPD. But how it works if he does not have an EPD and he export, actually companies do a kind of rating. So they send him as Mr. Sebastian said. So it is voluntary. So the customer send them a rating document asking him, do you have greenhouse gas emissions? Do you have an EPD? So it's kind of checkbox. So if he has other things that he has done for sustainability, then his rate is high than they have from him, but they are pushing. So and actually this is, I hear from many CEOs. So okay, I was resisting to do the EPD until now. I cannot do that. So the customer will not allow me to export unless I have my EPD. So as I said, so basically it's kind of rating until they reach the point that they will force him to either to have the EPD or to not to be able to do it. So they push, give some time so that they will, but it is coming to be a mandatory. He will not be able to exit.
Thank you, Dr. Nasser. There are many questions about the LCA. I think some of them were answered, but oh, hold on. Okay, I see. Warda.
Yeah.
Follow.
Yeah, sorry. I have done many buildings, green building in UAE, and one of them, it was one of 6,000 building worldwide, close to Saint-Gobain, beside Saint-Gobain, and another one opposite to Saint-Gobain, while Ms. Nahla with us. Anyway, the main issue it was for me as a contractor. First, the cost, as everybody said, the cost of the material which complying with the sustainability is very high. Mainly when you are going to high regulation like LEED and this Barrel 4, zero energy, zero carbon well system. Plus, there is a lot of items, no available material on the market complying with this requirement. Very simple. The electrical conduit, we were going to LSF, but this restricted to certain size. When you are going to bigger size, not available. When you have requirement for any substation outside for AC unit, the small AC like split unit or whatever other one, not complying at all, mainly with the requirement of BMS, which is huge when you go to high regulation of the sustainability. So this is critical in the market to develop the industry. It was the main challenge for us, the prices and the availability of the material. And sure, when you go to any supplier with high requirement, he will skip. He will gonna exaggerate or he gonna skip. This is very simple. Only that's my comment for what I have done.
Thank you very much for your comment. I think others also share your concern, and we've heard from the panelists that yes, there is a challenge of finding enough. Firstly, finding enough materials that meet requirements. This is number one. But number two, finding, EPDs enough for the materials that are available, that, the different stakeholders can use as a reference for their work. This is something we understand, and but again, we've heard a lot of positive, I would say, messages or signs, or seen, signs in the increase in the number of EPDs, but also in the UAE specifically, we also see, I would say, in growing interest amongst manufacturers and investors, really to make available, let me use the word, sustainable materials, for the local market. Yes, it's not going to happen overnight, but I think it's going in the positive way. We need, of course, to push that more. I mean, everyone, all the stakeholders, regulators, policymakers, consultants, developers, contractors like yourself, and then all other, companies and organizations. Thank you very much again. And I'm just cautious of time, and I would like really to give, like few words in very few minutes to our panelists and presenters, like kind of, closing or wrapping up this before we really wrap the event. So maybe I'll start with you, Sebastian. Like final words.
Final words always sound so dangerous, because I want to live a bit longer than after this meeting.
I didn't mean it in that way, Sebastian and the others. I meant final words in this webinar.
Yeah. No, I think it was a very insightful workshop. I'm very thankful also for the comments. I also looked into the questions. Some of the questions we will get an answer, of course, also from us afterwards. Some of them are quite technical, others are more general. So I need to think about, and of course, how we can provide that information to you and your audience here also, Abdullah. But I think it was a very insightful. I also liked the setup of the panel. It was experts, users, developers, etc. So we have the whole spectrum in the house. I hope that your audience appreciates that, because this is not so common in this kind of webinars, that you have all the actors in one room speaking freely. So
thank you very much, Sebastian. Thank you, Dr. Nasser.
What I can say, I'm very happy to have this workshop. I would like to thank you so much for arranging this workshop. Many questions shows that we see the problem and we need to act on. So maybe I just want to share an experience for a company here in Egypt. They developed the EPD. They were like about to go to bankruptcy, and once they have their EPD there, but they were the first company in the sector that published this EPD, and their sales grows like 40%. Then they could be saved, and now they are surviving. So this is one of the answers of what we are facing now. Yes, there are lack of EPDs, but we need dreamers. We need people who take the action and go for it, invest, because you have to you have to risk some money to do business. You cannot just do business without any risk. So this is thank you all, and I really look forward to a face-to-face workshop very soon, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nasser. And in business, the higher the risk, the higher the potential revenues, by the way, right?
Yes.
So, Dr. Yanis, final words.
I will not consider it as a risk or a price escalation requirement. But I want to highlight where we are as part of the industry. For the last, let's say, 10 years, we're focusing on energy reduction. And now, if we reduce the energy of the building so much, then suddenly we're going to find out that the buildings we're designing now for the next 20, 30 years, the impact of the building will not be anymore the power consumption, will be the embodied carbon. Yeah, and I'm looking forward for an interesting discussion in the Congress at the end of the month on this topic. If that's the case, I think there is opportunity for everyone in the supply chain to understand where they're sitting, if it's your supplier or the contractor or wherever. Because suddenly, as part of the project, DIWA will not be the emitter. The emitter may be, the bigger emitter may be the concrete supplier or the steel supplier or the contractor. But at the end of the day, as a developer, we have the responsibility to understand where the risk is and work on that. And of course, in order to do that, we definitely need environmental product declarations.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yanis. Nahla? You're muted, Nahla.
Yes, sorry. So my final word, I want to invite you all to visit Al Muntada, which is in Abu Dhabi, Masdar City. Al Muntada is a multi-comfort home of Saint-Gobain. This concept proves that when all our solutions are used together in the same building, the building will be comfortable for the human being, for thermal comfort, for visual comfort. So it's a very nice example, and it will be a very nice opportunity and experience to visit Al Muntada in Abu Dhabi and to try and to see also all Saint-Gobain product in sustainability range or other entity or other family of products.
Thank you,
Thank
Nahla,
you so much for this nice workshop also.
Thank you for the invitation. It's a nice place, by the way. Ragini?
It's been a very insightful discussion, and it's clear that there are challenges, but also there is a strong momentum and opportunity here in the use of EPDs and LCAs across the region. And I just conclude by saying that I hope conversations like this continue to bridge the gap between ambition and implementation. And we hope we're able to move the entire value chain towards low carbon choices. Thank you. Thank you for having me in this panel.
Thank you, Ragini. Dania?
Yeah. Thank you for bringing us all here together and bringing like everyone's point of view on this from all the different sectors as well. Final words, I would say that for anyone developing EPDs and working on these life cycle assessments, that no matter how much you're pushed to hurry up and finish before time on a specific deadline, keep in mind that the quality also does matter.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Dania.
you.
Thank you. And thank you very much, everyone, for being here. I see, Khalid, you're raising your hand. I'm not closing yet. I will give you the floor really to close this. But before that, I just want to let you know that on May 21st, 22nd, there is our EmiratesGBC Annual Congress in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So first day in Dubai, second day in Abu Dhabi. I would like to invite everyone really to register and attend. We have a very great lineup of speakers and panelists covering very important topics and subjects. You can go to our website and register from there. The second thing is that EmiratesGBC with our members, especially the developers, including Expo City, we are working together really on relevant sustainability criteria to the built environment, including materials, construction materials, and embedded carbon. So again, watch the space. We will come back to you with so many, I would say, interesting outcomes. And now I think I'd like to close this by final words from Mr. Khalid Bushna.
Thank you, Abdul Latif. Thank you all for participating today. I think the level of participation and interaction demonstrates the need for the interest of EPDs in the market. This is supposed to be awareness and capacity building. I think awareness is being raised. The next opportunity is on capacity building. We will be coordinating closely with EPD International on what is the best way on increasing the people who are practitioners. This will bring down the cost. This will bring down the time of delivery. I would like also to announce that in October, we are going to have a more detailed workshop on EPDs where Sebastian and Dr. Nasser will be joining us in person. And maybe then, Nahla, we can take you on your visit Al Muntada. But in the coming workshop, it will be more technical. And during this period, focus will be on building capacity in the region. I want to thank EPD International EPD MENA, Sebastian, Dr. Nasser, for your dedication for this matter, and all our panelists for this fantastic event. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See how
Thank you.
efficient we are. We'll give you back 5 minutes of the webinar. Thank you very much, really, for your time, for your commitment, and for your invaluable, insights. I wish you a nice day, and that's it from our side. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank
Have
you,
a great day.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
मुझे लगा पहले अपन क्लाउड लोड्स की बात करें क्योंकि अभी
Lana?